Welcome to our Autosphere video series again. Today we've got with us Drew Collier from LGM Financial Services and Mary Ellen Schaffsmer from United Way's SPI division. Guys, welcome to the broadcast.
Thanks, Hugh. Great to be here.
Thanks, Hugh.
So I guess just starting out, Drew, if we can kind of get a little background from you about LGM Financial Services, kind of it relates to the automotive F&I space, because I think it'll be very interesting for our readers, certainly.
Yeah, for sure. So, LGM's been in F&I for about 20 years, a little over 20 years. We've had our own brand of products under our Secure Drive label. That's kind of our proprietary brand. But most of our business actually comes through our partner brands. So those are the automotive OEMs that we work with. They entrust us to administer their F&I programs on their behalf. At LGM, some of the drivers of our success is, our relentless focus on consumer experience, more so than just dealer or just our partners. We all know that a great consumer experience drives loyalty, and loyalty is really key for success for our OEM partners and dealers.
Great, fantastic. Mary Ellen, switching over to you, can you tell us a little bit about the United Way?
Hugh, United Way has always had a really great relationship with the corporate sector, really for decades, 90 years here in British Columbia. And we've been helping them engage employees in philanthropy and volunteering for a long time. But over the past 5 years or so, business is starting to recognize this emerging and now quickly emerging trend towards social purpose in business, which is defined as a business embedding a societal reason for being as the reason it exists. And then that social purpose drives everything they do and helps them innovate and grow as a company. So we've been seeing this emerge, and we've been seeing a lot of the larger companies, or some of the larger companies, adapting to social purpose on their own, but they didn't know how to go about doing it and doing it well and doing it with authenticity, which is really important. So we started investigating, and we found the Canadian leading expert in social purpose, Coro Strandberg, who already had a past connection to United Way, which was great. So together we created a pilot workshop to see if the idea of social purpose in business really did have legs. Did business see this as the next thing? So since that time, we've developed many valuable services that help companies understand, define, clearly articulate, and then embed their social purpose in all that they do. And really the ultimate next step, and what we will be helping companies with next, is to collaborate with others, to co-create new business innovations.
Tell us a little bit about that and how you see these joining of forces creating, an overall objective, if you like.
Yeah, well, it was a few years ago now that we met LGM, and actually Coro Strandberg, the social purpose expert we've been working with, introduced us because she sat down with them and discovered that what she thought they were really looking for wasn't corporate social responsibility, but was social purpose. But they didn't have the term for it. And we were looking for companies that already had the values, the ethos deeply embedded in the company. They just needed to tease it out and clearly define and articulate what their societal reason for being would be. And it's been a beautiful relationship. I think at the beginning they were a bit skeptical, but by the end of completing the program and defining their social purpose that Drew will tell you about, LGM has become one of the biggest champions of social purpose that has worked with us, and they're activating in all they do.
Looking at it from the LGM side, tell us a little bit about this meeting of minds and how you guys saw joining up with the SPI United Way as kind of creating this kind of wonderful cause.
Yeah, and there's a bit of a story there. Mary Ellen mentioned that we were a little bit skeptical, and I think the word we actually used at the time was a little bit fluffy. It's kind of how we interpreted it when we first started. In 2019, we actually started on a journey working on developing a new 3-year plan for the organization. And we wanted to try to figure out how does corporate social responsibility, or giving back as we always knew it, how does it fit into our strategic priorities? We'd always known that it was sort of like the right thing to do, and it felt good, and our teams enjoyed doing that kind of giving back work in the community. But we couldn't really articulate how did it fit with our business model? How did it drive our economic engine, if you will? We were starting to see an industry that was kind of embracing a mandate that was a lot bigger than just like traditional making profits. And it was getting interesting, and we're starting to think a lot more about like, how can this fit and how can this work for us? We were sort of still struggling at that time, trying to pull it all together. And how do we make it part of our 3-year plan? And it was really kind of serendipitous that at the time, Coral reached out and said, hey, we've got this program we're looking at. Would you guys be interested? They came up at the perfect time and allowed us to continue on with our 3-year planning.
Wow, that's just fascinating and interesting. So moving on to the next question, guys. I mean, we talk a lot today and we hear it in the news about social responsibility and sustainability.
You know, I think we're on sort of an evolution of terminology and thinking on this, and it's something that's been going on for a while. You know, looking at the purpose and the role of business in society, and it's partly driven by, you know, expectations society has on good businesses. You know, people expect more from good brands nowadays, but it's also driven by some of those good brands and those good businesses that are striving to innovate and constantly innovate and do better and think differently. So it's really, in my view, it's kind of an evolution. It's hard to put your finger on exactly what it is and what it means, but it definitely feels like it's a positive trend.
Those two, social responsibility and sustainability, are really incredible precursors to social purpose. And they really taught business a lot about their own capacity to show up in new ways in community. Businesses can just bring more than just job creation and economics to help make a better world. They have so much more to bring to the world to create thriving societies. And within thriving society, they will benefit as well. So very reason a company exists is for societal good. And that actually drives business outcomes. So COVID has really shown us and highlighted for us that business does need to show up differently in the world as a citizen and as part of society, not apart from society. So social purpose encapsulates what those things are and takes them to a new level of engagement with society. The full benefits are yet to be seen, but there's definitely a business case and things are moving.
You know, one of the biggest challenges currently facing our society, I think, is truly sustainable mobility in the future. So I guess starting off, Drew, what are your thoughts on that and how we can actually get there?
Most people equate sustainable mobility with like fuel emissions, and that's definitely a big part of the problem. 15% greenhouse gas emissions, I think, is the number that in terms of what the automobiles contribute to in terms of global greenhouse gas. But we also look at sustainability, as I said earlier, more than just an emissions issue, more than just EV sales. As much as that's a huge opportunity, there's lots of other opportunities as well, and I do like to call them opportunities rather than challenges. There is a massive opportunity here that I think we might be not that aware of or need to be putting more attention to, and kind of need to look at this problem differently, because this is quite possibly the biggest thing since the birth of the automobile over 100 years ago, prior to which, you know, mobility was defined as like a horse and carriage, right? You know, once we hit that tipping point, it no longer becomes socially acceptable to drive an internal combustion engine. It's kind of hard for us to imagine that right now, but just wait. You know, I think we're going to see the biggest sales cycle our industry has ever seen. It is going to become the golden age of electric vehicles globally, let alone in Canada.
I really love everything Drew just had to say, and it is very exciting. And it feels like a real opportunity for the industry, the automotive industry, to rally together and make this shift as a group. I would definitely say the more companies and businesses in the automotive industry that join in the social purpose business movement, it truly will accelerate responsible mobility for all. So I really encourage others to get involved.
Speaking of fantastic things, I'd love to hear more about the Responsible Mobility for All initiative. So tell us a little bit about that and some of its objectives.
Mobility for all, it's actually our vision at LGM. And our social purpose is to accelerate that vision, to work with partners, work with industry players, to try to move that in that direction and move a little quicker, accelerate it, getting to responsible mobility for all. In the past, we've done things at LGM like created the first Auto Dealers Against Distracted Driving program for the industry, or the first hydrogen electric fueling station in Vancouver, and a car share program. As we look forward, the specific initiatives we're working on are things like moving our investments. So we take a lot of investments in for policies and that we sell to put money away for future claims. And while they're while they're set aside until those claims come in, we need to invest them responsibly. And we believe a part of that is moving to an environmental, social, and governance framework for our investments. We're also looking at B Corp. B Corp's an organization that provides a framework to look at and set benchmarks for our organization and in everything that we do and look at it from sort of a social purpose lens. So it's been a little bit challenging the last year with the pandemic. Challenging in one sense, but also eye-opening in another, as Mary Ellen mentioned earlier. It's really awoken the industry to the opportunities that are there.
So we'd love to hear more about the Purpose in Practice case study and some of the findings perhaps that you've learned from this initiative.
Really what we wanted to know was why did they embark on this journey? How did they get to their social purpose? And most importantly, what have been the results? And for me, the most exciting thing in the case study is that LGM has already been experiencing some of the business benefits that we already knew were part of having a social purpose. Things like customer acquisition and retention, innovation generation, new and strengthened partnerships, staff engagement. These are all parts of the social purpose business case. And again, LGM is successfully bringing them to life, even this early on, and it's just going to continue on. So we're really pleased to have seen that.
So early on, we started to engage our staff, and we saw a really great response from our team. They were excited and really inspired about the positive impact that we could have together and the legacy that they were going to get to leave in their time working with us at LGM. A little bit later on, as we started to work through some of the actual specific initiatives, we had opportunities to engage some of our partners on things like a hydrogen electric vehicle program or the car share program, or even working with dealers, with auto dealers against distracted driving. And similarly, we saw dealers and our OEM partners have a lot of enthusiasm and excited about collaborating and working with us. And those partners today are stronger customers to us because of the work that we did with them. So it's really strengthened some of those relationships. You know, we're seeing this groundswell of change and new thinking in our industry. And that's incredibly exciting for us to see that really resonating in the industry. So I think, you know, from a business case perspective, it hits on employee, it hits on our customer, and hits on our value proposition as an organization at the end of the day, which is pretty powerful.
Fantastic. Drew, Mary Ellen, anything else you'd like to mention while we've got you on the line this morning?
Well, I just think a lot of companies think that embarking on defining and bringing to life a social purpose is like an add-on and a drain. It's going to take more resources away, and it's going to be difficult. And it is, in fact, the exact opposite. It really is a way to grow your business as well as help create a better world. And we're faced with so many issues currently: climate, social division, a pandemic. And these are the times that we really need business in all industries to show up and bring all that they've got to the table. But what we're finding is, and what we've known, is that really social purpose is a business driver. And it's a driver for growth and innovation. It's a driver to attract and retain employees and customers. It's like a virtuous circle. So I hope through this example of LGM, this case study, that others can see that this truly is a wise business decision.
You know, there's not a day that I don't see headlines on LinkedIn or in some of the media in our industry that there isn't some really exciting things happening to move us down the path of what we're calling responsible mobility. It's really is an exciting time to be part of that change and leaving a better legacy for the future.
Drew, Mary Ellen, thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you.